Hello and greetings. This is George Sloan, founder and dean of My Ford University, and I'm sitting in the truck that spawned the whole idea. Every day when I go to work, I sit and listen to various videos and podcasts and decided, you know what, other people may be doing the same thing, and I wanted to share that and provide some advice, wisdom, and tools you can use. One of the big things that we believe in here is we want to learn things, knowledge and skills, but very quickly turn around and actually apply those skills, because that's where you get some real action, that's where you get some real results, and we're all about outcomes here. So welcome, and you'll be seeing quite a few more of these. I'm going to do some shorts when it comes to videos, and I'll be doing some longer form videos where I won't necessarily be on screen, but you'll hear me narrating through it. So again, welcome. Hello everyone, George Sloan with My Ford University. Today we're going to talk about the $200,000 lie. A lot of people are starting to figure out that college is 4 years wasted and $200,000 worth of debt that you don't need. If you're looking to get hired, promoted, or given a raise, you need to demonstrate some results, and it's not going to come from college. What we're going to focus on here is getting you some skills, getting you the ability to apply them quickly and get results, because that's what employers are going to want to see. Can you deal with an issue? Can you come up with an approach? And what kind of results can you get? You need frameworks, not lectures. You need to be able to get those results and demonstrate them in a clear and coherent way. And at My Ford University, we believe in developing skills and knowledge and applying them. But we also believe in learning it fast and applying it faster. Oh, if I had it to do again. This isn't about regret. It's just about the recognition that I would do things a little differently, especially when it comes to higher education. Welcome, colleagues. It's George Sloan from My Ford University. I'm going to talk real quick. If I had to do it again, would I go and get my bachelor's, my MBA, and my Master of Science again? Probably not. In this day and age, there's better ways to do it that don't require years and thousands of dollars. You can do it very quickly and get upskilled fast. I wouldn't bother with the traditional route because there's other better alternatives. My Ford University gives you some alternatives, but there are others. Apprenticeships would be something that would be worthwhile. That's how they used to do it. Self-study, you should always be self-studying and improving. Courses, online or otherwise, and certifications. Certifications are great because you get them quick and they actually sort of qualify you, at least with the base knowledge, but it all comes back to application. Learn it fast, apply it faster. Top 5 reasons to avoid traditional higher education. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. We want to go over some of the top reasons why you want to avoid traditional higher education. Reason number 1, the crippling cost and debt of traditional higher education. Number 2, it's obsolete knowledge, and it's just too slow to adapt. Things are moving too quickly. Next, the sunk time cost that you're going to put into this. It's going to take forever to do it. Additionally, there is a misalignment. Many of these organizations are turning into diploma mills. You want to avoid that. The ROI, man, the return on investment is out the window. That is 5 top reasons to avoid traditional higher education, but I'm going to give you a bonus. The other thing is, most employers could care less about degrees anymore. What they care about now are skills. Can you do it? You want to learn this stuff? Come to myforduniversity.com, where you learn it fast and apply it faster. I'm going to talk a little bit about opportunity cost. When you make a decision to do something, you have to sometimes forego something else. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. We are going to talk briefly about the idea of opportunity cost. And one of the things that is a very powerful concept, but it's often ignored or overlooked. When you say yes to something, that means you're saying no to something else, and vice versa. You need to be very specific and very careful with what you choose to do and focus on. You have to make trade-offs on things from time to time. It governs almost everything that you do. So if you're going to invest some time in something, that means you're not going to be able to do something else. I would hope that you're doing the most fruitful and profitable and productive thing and foregoing the less productive. Spending an hour on something that is the wrong thing is tragic. You want to make sure you're very careful to spend your time in the right places and put your focus on the right things. I would also mention to you the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. 20% of your results come from 80% of your efforts. That means that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Make sure you do it the right way. Take a look at it and make sure you're spending the time in the right place. So when you're thinking about opportunity cost, think about if then, or if this, then not that. So make sure you make a good choice on that. Be very, very careful. If you want to learn more tips, tricks, approaches, models, visit myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. Highly recommend you come and take a peek at what we've got, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. All right, we're going to talk about the top 10 things prospective college students, parents, and the prospective student themselves might want to know. Real tongue twister. About alternatives to traditional higher education. Welcome, colleagues. Welcome, prospective students. Welcome, parents of prospective students. I'm George Sloan, founder and dean of My Ford University. We are an alternative approach to traditional higher education, and we're going to talk about some things that you might want to consider. Um, Everyone seems to believe that traditional higher education is the best and only route. Not so fast. There are a number of different ways to go. So I wanted to dispel some of the myths, and I made up a list of 10 reasons, and I'm going to share them with you. Number one, alternatives are no longer second best. Think about that. Everyone, oh, go to college, go to college. Whose best interest is it for your son or daughter or you to go to college? Not necessarily yours. Some of these alternatives are no longer second best. The trades pay very, very well, very limited time commitment, and not as much money to get a trade and get you out into the workforce very quickly. That's just one alternative. All right. Number two, the cost versus the ROI. College is the cost of going to college is out of control. And the problem is that while the costs are shooting up a few 100%, the average starting salaries are not keeping up. And the return on investment, or ROI, is just not the same as it used to be. It's just not there anymore. And part of the problem, again, here's an economics case for you. When you increase the supply of college degree holding graduates, the more there are, the less value it is because they're not as scarce as they used to be. Think about that concept for a second. All right, let's talk about number three. Employers value skills and the ability to solve problems and get results more than they value degrees. Degree, it doesn't necessarily prepare you for the real world and action in the field. The degree is going to demonstrate that, hey, you showed up for classes and you were able to get a certain grade level, but it's really not an on the job training program. It doesn't hold the same weight, and a lot of employers are saying, what can you do? And that's more important to us than where you went. Number four, time to career entry is much, much shorter with a lot of these alternatives. Personally, these days I would say you probably want to go and either get out and work for someone, and learn the business as fast as you can, because you'll be making money and you can continue your education. You can do courses, you can do certifications. These are all alternatives, and you can get yourself up to speed while you're earning. You think about it. You're going to pay to learn, or you want to get paid to learn. Different concept. All right. Number five, job security exists outside the college path. A lot of white collar workers who are college graduates are suffering from layoffs. A lot of that's going on right now. But there are certain jobs, particularly in the trades, for example, where you're highly in demand. The trades are graying out. A lot of the tradespeople are aging out and retiring, and there aren't enough people. So there's a case where supply and demand could actually work in your favor. And these folks that are coming out real quick with these skills and abilities out of trade schools, They or you can even go the apprenticeship route. They are earning money and earning good money, and they're not going to be replaced real quick, because the bottom line is you're going to need people to fix things. Uh, Robots are not going to replace them anytime soon. May happen years and years from now, but it's not going to happen in the next few years. All right. Number 6, entrepreneurship is a legit path. There is nothing wrong with entrepreneurship. Now, listen, I'm not talking necessarily about having this big dream of rocking the world and creating the next Facebook, which isn't even the hottest thing anymore. But you know what I mean. Entrepreneurship could mean starting a simple and small business that provides a valuable service that, again, people are in high demand for. So it's a legit path. Some businesses might be able to be started for just a couple $1,000s or even next to nothing, and you can earn very good money from doing that. And at the end of it, after you've built the business, you actually have something you can sell. You can't sell your college degree, but if you build a business that's been, providing you income and teaching you how to run a business, you actually may have an asset that can be sold. So there's a bonus to it. Okay. Number 7, learning doesn't have to stop with college. In fact, it shouldn't. Everyone should constantly be learning, upgrading, improving, adding to their repertoire. Learning should be lifetime. Uh, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you could probably get by with just learning one thing and you could pretty much run a whole career on it. Things are changing so fast now, you can't do that. So what you're going to need to do is, apparently, every now and then, either upgrade your skills, and in some cases you may change industries. You're going to be doing different things. So that's another approach. All right. Number 8, prestige does not guarantee success. I can't tell you how many idiots I've met from Ivy League schools, whereas people I've met from state schools or even community colleges are much sharper. So just because it's prestigious doesn't mean you're going to get someone who is highly capable, highly competent, and it doesn't guarantee success. And it's not so much a slight on the institutions as much as they're just some people that weren't necessarily cut out and they got in for one reason or another. Again, prestige does not guarantee success. All right, number 9, alternatives build proof of work. They build the ability for you to say, hey, I've dealt with this problem before. Here's how I dealt with it, and I can do it for you, and I can do it cost effectively, and I can get you more sales, more profitability, whatever it might be. You're able to demonstrate your ability to either work on your own as an individual contributor, or to work as a team, or to be a manager, or more importantly, you should always be striving to be a leader. But going and doing some of these alternatives builds that proof. All right, number 10, kind of like when I said in the NBA top 10 list, college will always be there later if it's needed. Again, college is not necessarily the only way to go. Now, I will state, if you're going into STEM or you're going into law or you're going into education, there are certain things and requirements that are built in. You must get an undergraduate degree to go into a lot of those fields. And there's a reason for that. Eventually, I'm going to be doing a podcast on that whole concept. It's a barrier to entry, but if you need to know. But the bottom line is, even if you don't go to college now, who's to say you can't go 5 years from now? It's still going to be there. So these are 10 reasons and 10 things to consider if you are a parent of a prospective college student or a prospective college student yourself, that alternatives to traditional higher education do exist, and they're becoming more and more viable and valuable when you look at the situation and current state of higher traditional education. Okay, I'm George Sloan with myforduniversity.com. If you want to learn more about these concepts and others, please visit us. Quite a bit of material to be looked at if you'd like. myforduniversity.com, where you learn it fast and apply it faster. Don't go to college. Do this instead. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from Ford University. I'm going to give you an alternative approach. Instead of blowing 4 years of your life and a couple $100,000 that you'll be paying off for a good part of your life, I would consider doing these 3 things. Number one, start getting a job, work, get a job, find out what you like, find out what you don't like, find out what you're good at, find out what you're not good at, and of course, make some money while you're learning. Get paid while you learn, earn and learn. Good way to go. Beats going to college. Number two, create your own learning plan. Read one book a week. Look, not every book is 300 pages. You can get decent books, and I'll have a list at some point that I'm putting together. But you can get good books that can be read in one night. 100 pages or so, and find one gem in each of those. One book a week. That you're probably going to be by reading one book a week. You're going to read more books than a college student will probably read in their whole 4-year college career. Number two, or subpoint, learn and apply thinking models and methods. College really should give you the foundation in these things. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about critical thinking, first principles thinking, inversion thinking, creative thinking, design thinking, systems thinking. Want to learn about these things? Go on over to myforduniversity.com because they're all there already. Number three in the subsection of number two, practice presenting to people. One of the best ways to do it now is to actually use social media. Instead of getting on and doing dancing and such, get on and actually give a presentation. Start practicing, get better, get comfortable, and you're going to get a whole lot more presentational speaking in that way than you will going to college. Mark my words. Number four of number two, um, learn and apply soft skills, emotional intelligence, listening skills, learn how to listen. Great expression that I like. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. They'll tell you what they're interested in. They'll tell you what you can help them with. They'll tell you what their problems are, and you can solve them. Number three, start a small business, a small side hustle. Greatest education you can get is to actually start a business. And even if it fails, I said this in the MBA version of this, you're going to learn something very powerful. So, one last thought, college will still be there if you still feel compelled. But I don't have a feeling if you do this for 1 year, you'll get more out of that than a 4-year college education. So, if you want to learn it fast and apply it faster, visit myforduniversity.com. Yes, another subscription service. Everything's turning into subscription services these days. And my view is that traditional higher education is probably one of the biggest and most expensive subscription services that many of us are involved in or potentially involved in. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from Ford University. Um, I'm not anti-education. I just don't believe in the traditional higher education system anymore. And I was a product of it. I have a bachelor's, I have an MBA, I have a master's of science, but it was grueling and it didn't have to be that way. And the thing I'll say is it was a lot less expensive. Nowadays, it's like a mortgage. And quite frankly, it's a mortgage that some folks are going to carry for the next 2 decades. It's just ridiculous how expensive it's gotten. So they'll get you while you're there, and you'll be paying for it forever. So in my book, it is a subscription service, and it used to be less than a car payment. Now it is more than a mortgage, a monthly mortgage payment. And again, it goes on for years and years and years. And the crazy thing is, uh, I've also said before, it's a decaying asset. So effectively, you're buying something that will depreciate on you. Sometimes even before you even graduate, things you learn in freshman year might be outdated. That's how quick things are moving. I've said before, we are in a very dynamic environment. It is not static like it was for your father or your grandfather, where it actually you had time to kind of use it up, and your return on investment or your ROI actually made a lot of sense. Nowadays, you were dealing with a whole different ball of wax, and you're going to be paying for it a ridiculous amount of money for it for a long time. And in a lot of cases, half the students don't even use the degree that they graduated with. They're in another field. There are alternatives. I highly recommend you check them out. Visit us at myforduniversity.com, where I talk about quite a few of those. I have some solutions. There are other folks that have solutions. I talk a lot about Mike Rowe. I'm talking about Cody Sanchez. And there's a whole bunch of other approaches that you can take. So if you want to learn things fast, and you don't want to get on the subscription service, check us out. Learn it fast and apply it faster. College recruiters are the new car salesmen, the new used car salesman. Um, I hope that upsets a few people because I think we should have a conversation about it. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from Ford University. Uh, I've gotten to the point where I think that colleges and universities are selling people a bill of goods. They know that the product is overpriced. They know that it's a decaying or depreciating asset in many ways. They know that a lot of folks don't even use their degree properly. And they'll sit there and give you all sorts of hype and they'll sell it and sell it and sell it. They literally are getting like used car salespeople. And we need to have a conversation. There are other alternatives. Granted, and I've conceded this point before, if you're going into STEM, if you're going into required programs, for example, to get a law degree, you have to have a bachelor's. To go into education, you have to have a bachelor's. There are a number of, artificial barriers to entry that you're going to be required. So for some people, if those are the fields that you're going to choose and you're going to go into, then you're forced to do it. STEM, you're probably best served to go in there. Again, if you're not familiar with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Um, but for everyone else, there are far better approaches. And these guys and these ladies are going to sit there and try to, convince you, about the experience and the networking and the college life and so on and so forth. It's a bunch of bullshit. What it really gets down to is you need to get skills, knowledge and skills as fast as you can and apply it as fast as you can so that you can get paid. So you're far better served by looking at alternatives if you're not forced into it because of, as I mentioned before, some of the programs that do require you to have attendance there. Um, I have a feeling there's going to be significant changes. You're already seeing it, and quite frankly, you've got better alternatives. And these guys are selling you something that doesn't have value. In fact, in some ways, a used car, you at least at the end have what's known as terminal value. A used car, as long as it's still working, you may have paid, say it was a brand new, it was a $100,000 car. You buy it used for 30, you drive it for a few years, and at the end, it's still got to be worth probably $2,000 to $5,000. There's a terminal value. Can you say the same thing about your degree? Can you turn around at the end of the term and sell it and get something back? Mm-mm. You want to hear a better alternative? Start a little business. And if it gets successful, not only will you have the income from the profits as you're doing it, but when you're done, it probably has a value to somebody else. If you can demonstrate that it's got cash flows, you have a terminal value in that business, which means you can get someone to pay you for it. Far better investment than these days than what these used car salespeople, college recruiters, are selling to everybody. So I'm trying to stir the pot a little bit. I'd love to hear, where you think I'm wrong about this. Um, you know, Obviously, just be respectful of anyone commenting, but please, challenge a few ideas. One of the things I'm always open to is open discussion and being objective, not subjective, about having conversations and debate on things. And quite frankly, I think that, a lot of people are starting to wake up and see this and see that there are better alternatives than what these guys are offering. Alternatives that take less time, less money, and get you a bigger and faster return on investment than a college degree or a university degree will get you. So, with that, check out myforduniversity.com where you can learn it fast, apply it faster. Okay, traditional higher education as we know it is going to go away. That's right, I said it. Um, we'll have a quick little discussion about that right now. Welcome, colleagues. I'm George Sloan, founder and dean of myforduniversity.com. We're not accredited, we don't grant degrees, and we don't take 4 years of your life and charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, we believe in learning knowledge and skills fast and applying it faster and getting that return quicker. So, why do I feel that traditional higher education as we know it is going to go away? Well, there's a number of reasons. Um, Partly because a lot of folks are starting to realize, number one, and this has been kind of brewing in the last, 2 to 3 years, but I've looked into it. It goes back almost a decade or more, where people have started to question the value of these things. And what's happening is, and COVID made things go down a little bit, but there was already a declining trend, and it not hasn't fully recovered. People were starting to move away and from college and university alternatives and degrees, and going towards other viable alternatives that were able to be able to gotten quickly and be able to gotten at a reasonable rate and provided a return and a nice lifestyle for folks that partake in it. For example, the trades, buying a small business, starting a little business. There's so many other alternatives that are better. Why else do I think it's going away? Well, a lot of companies, big Fortune 500 companies and even smaller ones, they've started to perk up and realize that degrees and pedigrees and credentials are not that important. What really matters to them at the end of the day is, can you solve problems? Can you provide solutions? Can you get results? Can you get positive outcomes? Can you manage people? These are skills, and you either have them or you don't. In fact, a lot of these companies are starting to go back to the old way of doing things. Years and years ago, 100 years ago, they had their own sort of apprenticeship programs and their own internal training programs, and they're all starting to return to that. Part of it is, they don't like the bad habits or lack of skills that they're seeing in some of these college graduates, even master's graduates. They don't like what they're seeing. So rather than try to undo bad habits, they're trying to invite people in who at least have a base foundation of knowledge and skills, and add to those knowledge and skills, upskill them, stack the skills for them, and get them moved along. So you're going to see a lot more of that, because at the end of the day, you can either do it or you can't. I always talk about the idea that we live in a highly, highly dynamic environment. It is not static like it used to be for dad or granddad. It is a situation where you constantly have to be reinventing, upskilling, uploading, just like your iPhone. I've made that analogy before. Your iPhone gets updates and uploads all the time. You should be doing the same thing. Got to keep those skills sharp, and going and getting a one-time degree isn't going to cut it anymore, because things change so quick. So what else is going on? There are a lot of, because of the fact that folks aren't choosing to go to schools anymore, because in many cases they can't even afford it. Uh, a lot of folks are starting to realize that it just doesn't make sense. And some of these schools are seeing declining enrollments to the point where they've built this industrial complex infrastructure, and they're running into the problem of they're not even meeting their fixed costs. They have certain built-in baseline cash flows that they need, and they're not getting them. So what's happening? Well, there's closures, there's mergers, there's consolidations. uh, you read about it every few months. There's more and more, especially it's accelerated in the last 4 to 5 years. It's there. I'll give you another reason, and this is the one that most people are probably guessing that I've been waiting to bring, but I saved that best for last. Um, while I don't believe that AI is going to take everyone's job, I think people who know how to use AI are probably going to get most of the jobs. And AI is kind of deleting the need for traditional higher education. Personally, I think that between AI and certain other approaches, and I'll detail those in a second, you can be getting yourself a college education, a 4 year degree, or 2 years master's, or a 4 to 6 year PhD. You can get them with a number of different tools and techniques that are available. And one of the biggest ones that helps provide that is AI. I don't suggest using AI as your primary approach. I recommend using it as a tool that's in the toolkit that supplements and complements everything that you're doing. Let me share with you real quick what I think you might want to consider, based on the fact that the traditional bricks and mortar higher education campuses are going to be going away and changing. There'll still be some, because again, some professions and some degree programs, there are required situations, and there's ones where it's pretty much you're best served by spending some time. Uh, but that is typically confined to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's confined to law. It's confined to medicine. It's confined to education, where you must have certain degrees and requirements met. But for most everything else, you'd be better served by creating your own self-curated programs. And the way that I recommend doing it and have done it myself, because I'm constantly upgrading my toolkit, so to speak. Um, you want to look at books. You want to look at courses. You want to listen to podcasts, watch videos. You want to consider certifications, micro certifications, mini courses, other forms of credentialing that aren't, 4-year commitments and hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are many of these things that you can do super quick. I would also recommend, I say it all the time, start a small side hustle business. One of the best business educations you can get is having a little business where you learn what some of the problems are, how to deal with customers, how to attract customers. There's a whole thing that just by doing that one thing, you're going to get an MBA degree, whether you like it or not, if you stick with it. I would also say that a lot of folks should be looking at going into the trades. They should be looking at going into small business. They should be looking at becoming freelancers. There are quite a few people that are able to make nice livings by providing solutions to people's problems. Solutions that they don't need someone on staff for all the time, but will hire when the need arises. And all of these things are alternatives because, again, I think what's going to happen is people are going to start to realize that by self-curating their education and sitting down and looking at what you need as you need it. Another analogy I love, I'm a movie buff. I love the idea of the Matrix getting uploads. Plug in, seconds later, I know how to fly a helicopter. I know Kung Fu. You know, it won't happen that fast, unfortunately, at least not yet. But these are things that you can do. I am a big, big believer. You can go into a weekend with a goal in mind. If you do certain things during the weekend, do a little learning, do a little applying, and come Monday, you will come out a different person and you will have a new set of skills. I've done it time and time again. I've gone and pulled certifications in weekends. I'm building programs to help folks on a weekend. There is magic in, especially a rainy weekend. Plow through a book, watch a bunch of courses, and as you start doing it, you're going to recognize the fact that there are other things you want to learn, so you can take deep dives. So instead of going down rabbit holes of people dancing or watching kittens, um, go down some rabbit holes where you're expanding your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and apply it immediately. So traditional higher education is going to be a thing of the past. Already is. People, not everyone realizes it yet. And these other alternative approaches, they are the here and now and the future. You want to learn more about this kind of stuff, please come and visit us at myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. High School 2.0. College is the new high school. Welcome, colleagues. I'm George Sloan, My Ford University. I'm the founder and dean. We don't do degrees. We don't do accreditations. We don't waste your years of your life and cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. We believe in learning fast and applying it faster and getting results almost immediately. Some cases in minutes, some cases a day, usually a weekend, but you can change your life rather quickly. What are we talking about here today? College is what high school used to be. It's, to me, it's an extended adolescence these days. You're just puttering around. There are some exceptions, granted. There truly are. I'll concede that point. But for the most part, I'd say 80% of the majors, again, Pareto's principle, we've talked about the 80-20 rule, 80% of those majors, worthless. 20% are required or necessary. And again, those are typically STEM, law, medicine, education, where you kind of have to have some of that. Sometimes artificially need it, but that's another story for another day. Bottom line is, you're in many cases, I would argue that high school students probably came out prepared to go into the real world and the workforce better 50 years ago or even 75 years ago compared to today. And the college graduates, a lot of them, I've seen reports, and I saw a video recently. A lot of them can't even read, and they're at Ivy League schools. They can't read a book. It's crazy. So college and higher education, it's just extending the whole education, if you will, process, and it's not worth your time. So if you want to look at different approaches, I lay out a whole bunch of them, and I provide quite a few of them on myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. What worked for your father and your grandfather will almost certainly not work for you. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, My Ford University. Going to talk about a concept here. It is tied very much to traditional higher education, but I would also say it extends out into other things as well. So it used to be that you would go to school, get a job, work, and retire. Well, in a dynamic environment, that's not the case anymore. When we were dealing with a more static and time and technology and progress was slower, yeah, it probably worked. It was a viable model. But now we're in a dynamic environment. Things change rapidly. We're not dealing in decades anymore. We're dealing in years, months, weeks, and in some cases, days. It gets stale like bread real fast, and the milk goes sour. So you need a new model and a new plan and a new approach. Now, granted, maybe the family business was that everyone became a doctor or everyone became a lawyer or whatever, or you go into the family business. So yeah, what used to work might still work, but that's a kind of different situation. Most of the people do not have that situation. So you need a new plan. And what does that new plan look like? Some of you are going to like it, and some of you are going to hate it. You need to constantly be upskilling, upgrading, building on your skills, stacking them. You've got to have a different approach. You cannot do a one and done anymore. Oh, I went to college and got a degree. I'm done. Dad, maybe. Granddad, probably. Not for you. Oh, I went and got an MBA. I'm all set. Nope. You're in a new environment and you need new solutions. And the solutions are a number of different alternatives. Uh, on top of the fact that, traditional higher education is a time suck, and it's also a money suck. And in many cases, for people with student loan money and debt, you're going to be paying it for a good portion of your life. It's just not worth it. So I would recommend to you look at alternatives. And at myforduniversity.com, we talk about a lot of these alternatives. I highly recommend you check it out. You will be surprised what you see there. And I'm not just pushing my approach. I believe in other approaches that I think are just as good. I talk about the trades. I talk about small business. I talk about entrepreneurship. Those are all other approaches. Apprenticeships, getting microcerts. You need to think in terms of what's your lifelong learning plan, what do you enjoy doing, what are you good at, and finding ways to come up with something different. Because your dad's and your granddad's plan ain't going to work for you, baby. So if you want to learn more about this stuff, visit us. I invite you to check us out. Leave a comment. Love to hear what you'd like to have us cover. With My Ford University, our approach is learn it fast and apply it faster. Don't be a lemming. Skip the traditional higher education path. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, My Ford University. If you don't know what a lemming is, it's an animal that when they start moving in a pack, they will literally go off a cliff. And that's what's happening to traditional higher education. It's going off a cliff for a number of reasons. And don't fall into the crowd and end up going off the cliff with them. There are alternatives. Some of them are new, some of them not so new. They're just digging up what it used to be in the past. College was built up in the 20th century to be something, and it worked for a time. But those times, that's come and gone. I'm sorry, but time to do a reality check. The traditional approach of, go to college, get a degree, get a job, stay there for 40 years and retire, that's gone too. So don't go off the cliff with everyone who's still using the old model, because the old model, that's done. It's done. It's done. People are not going anymore. They're pursuing other paths. Let's talk about some of those real quick. You've heard me say them before. Some people are going into the trades. Some people are buying or building businesses. Some people are becoming apprentices. Some people are doing alternate approaches. They're going into entrepreneurship. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do things now, and you can make a very good living. And some of these things are in high demand because they got beat down because everyone said, go to college, go to college. And quite frankly, there are other approaches. So if you're interested in an alternative approach and people that talk about alternative approaches, visit myforduniversity.com where you can learn it fast and apply it fast. What is the most expensive part of going to college or graduate school or PhD program? What's the most expensive part? We're going to talk about that. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. You know how I feel about higher education these days. I am not anti-education. I just think that the traditional path of higher education is broken, doesn't make sense, and there are better alternatives. But let's talk about what makes going to college so damn expensive. What do you think it is? Everyone probably go, oh, the tuition. Yeah, the tuition is out of control. Agreed. Room and board, out of control. But that's not it. A lot of you are probably going to say, oh, maybe it's the opportunity cost. Yes, you're going to have to forego earning an income. I mean, maybe you can run a part-time job while you're going to college, but you're going to give up a full-time income where you're gathering experience and knowledge and skills in the real world. That's very expensive too. But I'll tell you right now, that's not it either. Do you want to know what the most expensive part of college is? Something that you cannot get back once you've given it? It's the time. The time commitment that you make to get a college degree is crushing. Crushing. We are not in the 1950s where you could go to college and what you learned would carry you through a career for decades. We are in a time when what you learn in college may be obsolete by the time you get out. And the time investment that you make into college is the most expensive part of the deal. And quite frankly, more than half of the people that go to get a college degree don't even use it in the job that they do. Think about that one. Crazy, huh? So if you're going to go to get a bachelor's degree, you're typically looking at a 4-year commitment. It's like a prison term. You're going to be spending probably 2 years if you're going to get a master's degree. If you're going to do a PhD, depending on whether you got your master's in between, you're looking anywhere from 4 to 6 years. You know, again, if you have the master's degree, it's usually a 4-year program. But the bottom line is you're giving up valuable, precious life energy that could have been used elsewhere, especially given the fact that things have changed and a college degree ain't what it used to be. So when you're asked what the most expensive thing is about college, not the tuition, room, and board. It's not even the opportunity cost of the money you could have made. The one thing you cannot get back is the time commitment that you have to make. Time commitment where you're sitting through classes that are ridiculously long and drawn out because of accreditation requirements. You're going to take a lot of useless courses that they have to support because it's part of the infrastructure of college. You're going to be spending an inordinate amount of time on things that mean nothing. I've said it many a time. I used to sit in these classes and I'd go, will you please get to the point? And then when I was an adjunct professor, I was like, boy, if I didn't have to do these requirements, I could get these kids all the information and skills uploaded in a matter of hours. I could do it in a day, tops. I could have given them everything they needed for that course in a day. So when you sit down and you think about it, and I tell you that there's alternatives to the traditional higher education path, there are. My Ford University offers some. There are other programs that offer some. There's getting credentials that are certification oriented, which are quick and dirty, if you will. There's a number of different approaches that you can take. And the time that you will waste and lose pursuing a degree, whether it be a bachelor's for 4 years, a master's for 2, or a PhD for anywhere from 4 to 6, you're not getting it back. And I hope it was worth it. On top of the fact that the opportunity cost of the money you could have been making is gone. And of course, the ridiculous amount of tuition, room, and board that you're paying for. And if you take student loans, you'll be paying for it for probably half of your working life, if not more. So if you're interested in looking at alternatives, you might want to start with myforduniversity.com, where you learn it fast and you apply it faster. Real world experience beats a degree nearly every time. Let me tell you why. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, My Ford University. We are going to talk real quick about how experience in the real world beats a degree nearly every time. Granted, there are some things that you kind of need that university structure for. If you're in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or you're in law or education, medicine, where you're required to do certain things, sure. But in most other circumstances, you don't need a degree. You're going to learn more faster in the real world. And you're not going to be paying for the privilege. You're going to be paid for the privilege. So let's talk about it. I mean, degrees, they're supposed to give you a structured curriculum, a structured way of learning things, a foundation, a base. And honestly, I don't see them doing that anymore. They're too busy telling you, what to think as opposed to how to think. There's a big difference. Think about it. But here's the thing. While they're busy giving you a structured approach, the same one they've been given for decades, by the way, the real world is moving at light speed, okay? And in the real world is not structured. It is very unstructured. And it requires you to bob and weave and pivot and solve problems that may not even exist in the textbooks that you find in a college or an MBA program. So doing your own approach, your own self-curated curriculum as you need it to solve problems, to bridge gaps between your current state and your desired state, that is where you're going to beat a university graduate, because they only have what they were told and that's it. You're out in the trenches and you're figuring it out as you go along. So what you really should have been learning is how to solve problems, and college doesn't really do that. Real world experience does. Whether it's your own business or someone else's, that's where you're going to get it. If you're interested in this type of learning and this type of approach, visit myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. All right, here's a question for folks out there about traditional higher education. What are you really buying? What are you really buying when you buy a degree? Okay. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. Question today is, what are you really buying when you go for traditional higher education? A degree? That's just a piece of paper that says you showed up and got minimum grades on a bunch of exams when you get right down to it. Or maybe you're buying a 4-year break or a 2-year break if you're going for an MBA, for example. And that's fine. The expensive way to do it, but that's fine. But the real thing that you're supposed to be getting out of this is knowledge and skills and abilities. Knowledge, skills, and abilities that you can apply in the real world. Honestly, I don't see it. I don't see it anymore. What I see is a situation where people are, paying for, a rubber stamp. And guess what? That rubber stamp's got a lot less value now. Want to know why? Well, employers don't really give a shit anymore. All they want to know is, do you have the skills and abilities to do X, Y, and Z? Yes or no? A lot of them are waiving college requirements. Another thing, there's too many college graduates out there. Not as valuable. And who's to judge whether, a college graduate is capable? I've been not impressed. In fact, I'm seeing reports that even folks that go to Ivy League educations can't read a book. They can't read a book. So, what are you really getting? What are you paying for? My approach is you need to learn things fast. You need to learn them as you need to know them. And it's usually a reaction to a gap that you discover when you're working in the real world. You come across a problem, then you need some additional skills. You need an upgrade. You need an upload. You need some more information. That's the way to go get your education. Find out what it is that you need to be better at your job or do a different job or to do a business. Again, I'm not purely, corporate America, take a job. I think that's right for some people, and other people should be starting or buying a business. So that's really what you got to be asking yourself. What am I buying? And I've said before, if you buy a business or you build a business, in many cases, not only do you get the money that you're making as it's going, but it has what's known as a terminal value. For you finance geeks, that's the value of something at the end of its useful life. After you've looked at all the cash flows all along, there is a terminal value that it could be sold for. Can you sell your degree back? Mm-mm. Think about it. If you want to look at and think about and consider things along these lines and concepts and frameworks and models and processes and ways to improve on a personal as well as a professional level, visit myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. Traditional higher education. Got a question for you. Why are you folks paying to learn? That's the question. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, My Ford University. We don't do degrees. We're not accredited. Hell, we don't believe in it. What we do believe in is getting knowledge and skills quickly and applying it even quicker. So my question was, why are you paying for college? I would, propose that you do what I'm about to say instead. Go get paid and learning at the same time. Get a job. Start a small business in the real world and make money while you're learning. And as you go along, as you figure out, hey, I need this, I need that, take a little course here and there, little micro courses or micro certifications or a full-blown certification, a lot quicker than going for a degree. You want to turn this whole thing upside down. It's backwards. It's bizarro world. It's not what it used to be. And there are better ways to do it. And you should be getting paid while you're learning. On-the-job training. Doesn't matter where you start. Start getting skills. Start recognizing what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not so good at. Figure out where your knowledge gaps are. Then seek out ways of filling those gaps. Get the real world experience, get paid, and don't be paying for it. Now, granted, some courses and some certifications, you have to pay a little something, but it is nothing in comparison to what you will pay to get a 4-year college degree, a 2-year master's degree, or a 4 to 6-year PhD degree. Nowhere near it. And in many cases, here's the real secret, if you're working for someone and you explain why you want to take the course and how it's going to help the business that you're working for do better, they'll probably pay for it. Big secret. So it won't even cost you anything. It's foolish not to go this route. If you want to learn more about alternative views on how to get traditional higher education and more importantly, apply it, check out myforduniversity.com, where you learn it fast and apply it faster. You don't have time to go get a degree. You don't have time. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, My Ford University. I'm the founder and dean. We don't do degrees. We don't do accreditation. We don't do a bunch of bullshit that they do in a higher degree program. But we do share with you the knowledge and skills, and we focus on the ability to apply it. And you do not have time in this day and age to go waste 4 years for an undergrad, 2 years for a master's, or 4 to 6 for a PhD. You don't have time. Not today. You don't have time. What you need is to earn, whether it be through a job, a business that you start, a business that you buy. You have got to earn. That's what you have time for. Next, you need to learn. What do you mean learn? Learn on the job. You learn by doing. That's why we always say learn it fast, but apply it faster, because when you apply it, you're actually doing your learning. You, in the real world, will uncover certain problems that need to be solved. And when you do, once you identify those gaps, you have your current state and you have your desired state. The gap in between is what you need to fill. Once you have that figured out, then you go and you get the knowledge real quick. And you don't waste 4 years or 2 years or 4 to 6 years doing this. You can do it in hours in some cases. You can do it in a day. You can do it in a weekend, which is my favorite time frame. Never waste a good weekend. It doesn't take long. I'll tell you, even if it took you a month, it's not going to take you, years. And a college degree is not real world experience. Experience is experience is experience. And as I say, you're going to come across some challenges. You can kind of upskill real quick once you have a particular problem. And there's so many resources for you to use to get that these days that there's no excuse. So you do not have time for a degree. You need to learn while you earn and fill the gaps with quick little mini courses, mini certifications, whatever it might be. You want to learn more about this approach and this perspective, visit myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. College students or prospective college students, don't do it. Don't spend 4 years and a few $100,000 to find yourself. Do this instead. Learn skills that get you paid and get you paid now. Instead of general education courses, think about learning business courses and skills. Learn communication skills. Learn thinking models and methods. These are things that are going to get you real world results and get them for you quickly. You want to make sure that you're getting the right information when you need it, and you want it quick, and you don't want to waste years. You can get it through targeted accelerator courses is one of the best ways to do it. So I want you to think about building a portfolio of work, not just building a transcript that says, hey, you showed up and spent a bunch of money going to school. So skip the debt, skip all the wasted time, and start doing. My Ford University, you can learn it fast and apply it faster. 3 things to replace college. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. Instead of going to college, do these 3 things. Get yourself some real-world mentors that actually have done things that you want to do and have done them well. 2, you want to look at online accelerating courses or certifications. This way you're dealing with actual skills, knowledge, and deliverables instead of lectures. And number 3, you want to build a portfolio of proof. As far as I'm concerned, the portfolio of proof is tangible deliverables that demonstrate your capabilities and the ability to apply your knowledge and skills. To me, that's the new degree. So if you want to change the way of doing things and avoid college, build some proof, not pedigree. Learn it fast, apply it faster at myforduniversity.com. Secrets about college that college students and other people don't tell you about. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from myforduniversity.com, and I'm going to share with you some secrets that they don't tell you about college. College isn't about education, it's about compliance. Effectively, they're teaching you what to think, not how to think. College is teaching you how to be trained to follow the rules and not to question things. And in fact, that's precisely what you should do, is question things. You're also taught to memorize, not necessarily to master. I mean, you effectively graduate qualified, but you're not prepared. You're not prepared to deal with real world problems and come up with solutions in a real world situation. So my advice to you is to question everything, build your own education, self-curate. There are a number of ways, and one way is myforduniversity.com. You want to learn fast and apply it faster. College hack, learn while you earn. I'm going to share with you a quick hack that you can use that will save you time and money. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. Um, I am a big proponent of higher education, just not traditional higher education, because I don't think it works. So my advice is that you skip the dorms, get a job or start a small business, and then study self-curated online in parallel. Then what you do is you apply what you learn each and every day. That's going to be a fantastic education, and it's going to beat going and spending 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the fastest way to learn is to apply. And at My Ford University, we believe in learning fast and applying it faster. Going to give you another quick college hack. George Sloan from My Ford University. My advice is to stack micro credentials. These are ways to get up to speed rather quickly. So the concept behind it is stacking skill-based credentials that actually open doors. These are things that can take a day, a week, a month maybe, but not years like a college degree. And they are job specific. So my advice to you, reconsider college and start skill stacking with micro credentials. Remember, skills will beat a syllabus any day of the week. Who cares what the concepts are unless you can use them? Visit myforduniversity.com where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. Want the ultimate cheat code as an alternative to traditional higher education? You're in the right place. I'm going to share it with you. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. I am going to give you a cheat code that you can use to avoid traditional higher education. First thing to set out in this whole concept is stop waiting and asking for permission. College wants you to apply. I want you to do. Just start doing. Don't ask for permission. Self-curate your education. Self-assign yourself a project. Dive in. Do something in the real world that can have an impact on your job or in your business, or if you're going to start a business. Get to work. Start doing. Don't wait. There's no gatekeepers to this education. There's no credentials. It's just about results. Actually start. Start today. Don't follow the traditional higher education framework. Apply, get it accepted, attend, waste years, waste hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we'll talk about some theories, and maybe at the end of it, you'll get a job. Nope. Don't ask for permission. Just start doing it. If you want to learn more about this particular way of thinking and approach to things, visit myforduniversity.com where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. If I could show you a way to get a college education without having to go to college and waste all that money, would you be interested? Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, myforduniversity.com. I'm the founder and dean, and we have a different approach to traditional higher education. We don't believe that you need to waste 4 years of your life and hundreds of thousands of dollars. If I could show you a way to get that kind of an education for a fraction of the cost, if not free, would you be interested? I'm talking about the basic methods of thinking, the basic methods of analysis, the basic components of doing presentations, doing research. All of these are the basic foundations of a college education. What if I could show you a way to get your soft skills, such as emotional intelligence, the ability to lead, the ability to empathize with a human being. These are all critical things that you should and could get in a college degree, and I'm going to show you a way to do that. If you're interested in learning more, visit myforduniversity.com, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. Thank you.